Hey guys, so like I said last week, I didn't do a vlog this week. We kind of chilled out this week for Thanksgiving. But I do have this video of how our friend DJ taught us how to debone a chicken and then make this thing called a Ballotine chicken. So it's like a chicken wrap deal. It's really cool. So some people had asked, they want to see some cooking stuff, and that's really unique and different. So I'm going to show that. But otherwise, you know, today's Sunday, tomorrow will be Monday, so I'll be getting back into the weekly vlog tomorrow for next week, just like the rest of the year. This week's gonna be pretty busy. We got a really cold air coming, like low 20s, so we have to get road cover on everything. We're gonna put Christmas lights in the tunnels. We did that last year. It was really cool, and we'll be harvesting for the market and all that stuff. So so good winter gardening stuff to learn tomorrow and see. Here's some shots of the farm from yesterday, and then the video with DJ about how to make that chicken. It's cooking up time. So what are we making, DJ? And who are you? So people know.
I'm DJ. I'm from Redemption Farms, hanging out with the master vegetable growers, Casey and Tori Ostwinch, and we're gonna do a Ballotine chicken. That's a completely deboned chicken, and we're gonna take their vegetables from the farm, from one of their chickens that they raised here, and we're gonna roll it up. And we're gonna bake it in the oven at 350 for about an hour and 20. And we will have a wonderful, delicious, vegetable flavor infused creation.
Okay, DJ, tell people about your farm, how many chickens you raised and everything.
So this year we did 2,000 chickens, 2,000 broilers. We had a mix of the Freedom Ranger and the Cornish Cross. The reason for that was this is the COVID year, and everybody thought that we weren't going to be able to have a lot of food on the shelves, and everybody bought up all of the Freedom Rangers, which we normally only raise because Cornish are very difficult to deal with at times. So we had to do a mix of the both. So we also did 100 ducks and 176 turkeys for Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Where is Redemption Farms?
So right now we're located in Pennsylvania, and we're gonna move to North Carolina, hopefully. We'll see.
What's in there?
We have one of your beautiful purple Napa cabbages, and then what is this, your tot soy?
That's the pak choy.
Oh, the pak choy, okay. We're gonna reduce this down a little bit so that when we get to roll it up into the chicken, it rolls over a lot easier. We still have a lot of flavor. We're not gonna saute it so much as just to reduce it some.
All right.
And what's this? This is the Amish butter that you have in here?
Yeah.
So we're gonna reduce this a little bit in the Amish butter, and we'll pour the whole thing in, so we'll have all that butter go in as well. Then we'll sprinkle we've got some Honey Tree Farm carrots, Honey Tree Farm turnips, Honey Tree Farm onions, and then we've got some garlic as well there that will go on top of this reduction rolled up into the Ballotine, which is a French word for deboned rolled chicken.
Putting the onions in with the cabbage and pak choy, like DJ is saying to do.
When I asked y'all what you wanted to see in the videos, you said cooking stuff, so yeah, we grow vegetables. You raised me birds, so yeah. I don't think I can get any better than that.
Okay, so one of the first things I like to do with the Ballotine chicken is we're going to cut it straight down the back, okay? You always want to have a sharp knife. A sharp knife keeps you from having to saw on things, be irritated. It's very essential, not just for properly honoring the animal that you're going to consume, but also just for your mental health and doing this without being irritated. So the animal gives you a very nice line straight down the spine, so go straight down the middle, open that up, and then you want to go into, there's two ways you can do this to start. You can take off the flat of the wing first, or you can completely remove cut into the shoulder joint, into the breast, and start to peel it off. I like to take it off, removing the flat first. So what you want to do, so right now I have this wing spread wide open, okay? And there's a triangle that's made here. And this triangle points right into the direction that I should cut this wing. So intuitively you'd think that you'd want to kind of cut this like this. But if I cut right there, see how that joint opens wide open? There's the ball end to the drum, and then there's the socket end of the flat. So that I'm right in there into the joint, and I can remove it just like that. Okay? Very clean, very easy to do. Sometimes if you haven't patted this dry, and it's very slippery, if you have a towel, you can grab a hold of this. What you're gonna do is break that joint, and you see through the opacity of the skin, the two bone ends. I can pop those out just like that. And then this, the smaller of the two bones, you can work this out. Twist, 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 work it loose. And this is a Freedom Ranger chicken, so their continuity is a little bit tougher versus a Cornish cross. Like right now I'd have this bone out already if it was a Cornish cross. And I'm trying to pull out the socket end there through this, but boom. So worked it loose, pulled it out. So then what you can do is cut off the wingtip and do what's called a lollipop. So you can spread that down. You can, you know, as Jacques Pepin says, dip it in some egg and then some cracker meal, breadcrumbs, and then you can stick it in the oven at 300 for 40 minutes and you can have a delicious hors d'oeuvre. So we'll stick that right there. And then these couple of bones can go into a chicken stock. Do the same thing on the other side. Again, the skin stretches out, the V points straight into where you should cut. Cut right into it, boom. Comes right out. So then break those, the two bones pop, they come out. Pull that right out. Cut straight through, pop this off, that also goes into your stock, and then you've got your second lollipop. So then we're going to work into actually deboning the whole bird. And if you feel around on here, and Tori, you want to feel this? So right where I'm pointing, you feel that little valley right in there? That's articulating. So that's right where I want to cut. So you can work this like this. See how my finger's right in the joint, and my thumb is articulating where it is so that I can cut straight. Now see how I exposed the ball end right there? I cut right exactly where I needed to go. So I'm gonna just loosen this a little more, bust through this joint. And again, if you're doing a heritage breed bird, don't be irritated by the fact that some of these joints are a little bit more put together than the typical Cornish. So see how that's totally loose now. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna feel around for where that valley is. It's right here. Again, I can do the same thing with the other hand, feel where it is. Cut right into that. See how I exposed the ball end of that joint? Cut through. Now, I've got a little, look at this. Those little things, that little bit of sinew connection, that'll really hold you up and irritate you. So really make sure that you've cut through all that and this is all loose from the connective tissue of the joint. So the next thing we're going to do is, since that's all loose, you want to get your thumb. Now look, now I just said that, and on the other side I didn't go as far as I needed to. So I'm going to pop that loose to keep that from irritating me. So you want to pull away, get your thumb down in. So now I'm into the breast meat. This is kind of weird, but you can really, I'm feeling the rib cage now of the bird, and I can peel this away from either side. And once again, the heritage bird wins for its continuity. So peel this away, taking care to not completely mutilate the bird. Make sure that your muscle groups are coming off. And I go all the way down till I'm at the oyster. I'm doing this slow and deliberate so you can see what I'm saying, but this is the oyster of the thigh meat. So here's the drumstick, goes into the thigh meat, and that's the oyster muscle. So then I'm gonna start up here, work down to the bone, and see how I peel that oyster muscle out. And then I come to here, can crack the ball and socket right out, cut through the rest of the joint. Again, make sure you're popping everything loose that you need to. I'm gonna work this down the front, right off the keel. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Ball and socket pops out. I'm gonna finish cutting through, stand the bird straight up. And one of the things that you would get in a store-bought bird that doesn't typically happen with a bird that you buy from the farm is the tail still being attached. Now, that tail right now is what's really holding me up from getting this skin off the back, so I'm gonna pop that off and get that out of the way, and then I can pull the carcass completely out. Now I still have the tenders still in here, but the rest of the bird is completely deboned. So that's a little bit inside out at the moment, but you can see where the breast meat is, the leg and thigh. We'll tear this here, get this apart. So we still have to take the bones out of the drum part of the wing and the thigh and drumstick of the leg. So, but to start, we'll pop out. Jacques always pulls the wishbone out first. I have not found it super necessary, but it does kind of help you. But you know, make a wish. But that goes all into your stock as well. Some people can remove these very well just using their fingernail, like if you have a long fingernail. But I like to just score right here on the inside and break the little sinew connection. And then I put my finger in and start to work it loose. It's very easy to work loose right off of the bone. And then there's your tender. Get this string out of the way. Take your time doing this. Every chicken is different. Some are put together really well. Some are a little easier to take apart, but all of this can now go into a stock pot, you know, minus your little lollipops to make a delicious chicken stock. Next thing I like to do before I debone the leg and thigh and the drum, this is a little bit better if you have a paring knife. Paring knife is more about this length, but here's the tendon that runs the length of the tender. Okay, so the best thing to do is to take your towel and use the friction that's created from your towel on the end of that sinew. Straighten this out. The towel's a little wet. Now that peels out that sinew straight out of the tender. So that's chewy, that doesn't provide for a good food eating experience. It does bunch up the tender a bit, but just a little bit of flattening out and you have a nice, completely de-sinewed tender that's delicious and will melt in your mouth. And we'll do the same thing with the other one. This can go in your stock as well, no waste. We'll just put that there, it'll go right in the pot, we'll get something out of it. So this is the underside of the tendon. You want to have it facing down. Elongate it, help yourself out. Think of your future self and how happy that person will be if you help them do things well. So you can start by scraping it, hold it, and then peel that tendon right out of there, just like that. So then we're going to use these in the Ballotine once we get to roll things up. All right. Sometimes this happens. So sometimes you'll get that piece of cartilage that's on the keel bone of the chicken that it breaks off. It happens. just take care to work down that. Some people just cut that sucker right out of there. They don't really care, but I probably shouldn't care, but I do. But I'm gonna put that right in the stock as well. So now that that's out of there, out of the way. So the next thing you wanna do is you need to cut out your drum bones. So I like to get a good grasp on the roundness of that. And we're gonna cut one cut here, roll it around, make sure we're disconnected. And then a lot of the times you can just push this down and pull this bone right out of there. That also will go in your stock. We'll do the same thing again on the other side. Can you see that, how much, look, that's really tough. Not that the meat is tough, but that it was in France. The Poulet Rouge it was called. International ISA. You know, there's the Eyes of Brown layer chicken. Mm-hmm. It was the same French organization that developed the Freedom Ranger. And we call them Freedom Ranger here because, you know, we had the Freedom fries for a while. Yeah. Because we were irritated with the French. Even though they give us wonderful things like Ballotine chickens. We have a lot to be thankful for. Anyway, they developed that bird that's supposed to be a lot more hearty meat bird in your culinary eating experience, but it makes for much tougher tendons. So same thing, there's that oyster muster that we took care to keep in. We're gonna cut just above that. And then a lot of people get really weirded out by this, but you scrape the meat down. Look at that, look how rich that is. And you only get that on a pastured bird. So now we're down to the knee bone. We're gonna cut just above that ball and socket joint. I'm trying to save as much meat as I can. Get into this leg bone. You can see how the sliminess of this sometimes. There we go. All right. Look at that connective tissue. See how that's just so, yeah. The constitution of these birds is so much different. Now when you get to there, I just cut it out. I just take that completely out of the roll. And now I have to take all of this skin and thigh meat back out, and I've scraped down to here. Now you want to have a stiff spine on another knife that you use, because you're gonna break this bone right here. Again, pastured birds. Clean break. Okay. So then you'll pull that right out. So all of this will go into your stock. We've tried to take care to keep as much meat as we can on the bird and not be wasting so much. But again, it's not so much waste if it's going into your stock. All right, so the reason we leave this bone on the end is when we go to tie this up, this provides a stop for the string to back against.
I was gonna ask about that.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. I'll try to do this one just a little bit faster. There he is. Okay.
That's so cool.
And sometimes you'll get a few fragments in here. Sometimes it's nice if you can do this. Thaw out the bird and leave it in your fridge for a day so that the meat has a little bit of time to relax on the bone, and all of this scraping and cutting goes a lot easier, especially if you don't have the luxury of being able to sharpen your knife in your kitchen, or all of that stuff goes a long way for you. So we've completely deboned the chicken. There's the leg and thigh meat below with the stops of the bones still left. Now what we're going to do back with the tenders is you want to have a consistent layer of meat and skin, and there's this gap here that we're going to fill with the tenders, because again, now that we've gone beyond the original constitution of the bird, roasting like a regular chicken, we can reorient things a little different to have a consistent layer of meat in the roundness of the ballotine. So now we're ready to stuff. We can stuff the leg with what we've reduced with the Napa cabbage. Was it the tot soy? Is that right?
Bok choy.
Bok choy, whatever. And then we can sprinkle the carrots, the turnip, and we'll put a little bit of garlic in there with some goat cheese.
What do you put it in? Like, just can you put it back in that pan, or do you need a deeper one?
You can put it right in the pan and bake it for an hour, hour and a half at 350, or just a cookie sheet. Personally, I like to get some heavy duty tin foil, and I'll put the whole ballotine in the tin foil and kind of not completely encapsulate it, but bring up the sides so that it can really sit in its own juices and not have to evaporate so much. But that's deboning a chicken. We'll get into the rolling here in a second. So we've reduced the beautiful purple Napa and the, what was it again, Casey? The tot soy?
Pak choy.
Pak choy. And we're going to spread this out in a nice even layer inside the bird. Okay. So, because the bone is no longer in the cavity of the leg, we can stuff this so that all that delicious vegetable flavor will cook into the meat and vice versa. Okay, and then we can spread the rest of this out in a nice consistent layer. And then we'll take one half of the bird.
You want to put the carrots and turnips in?
You're right, thank you. Yes, I do. Get some Honey Tree Farm carrots and turnips going in raw so that their full flavor will cook into the rest of this. And we're gonna fresh press some garlic. Hold that for me, thank you. We got one more clove there, right? Mm-hmm. If stuff rolls out, don't worry about it, no big deal. Fold halfway in. Some people will leave the wing out. I like to just fold it right in. Overlap this. Try to pull as much skin as you can in. On this particular bird, there wasn't a lot of breast skin left, and that's what really helps you wrap things up. In that event, some people can use just some parchment paper or aluminum foil, something like that, to make up the difference. So then we're going to roll the bird over.
The cabbage is like...
I know, it's blue.
Don't worry too much about this, because when we cross these over and we tie this up, we can pull this skin down and it'll all tighten up. And work it under. See how I'm moving this around and I'm not moving the chicken? Pull enough slack through. And you just tie what's called 2 overhand knots. And then see how the 2 bones left in the end provide a stop. I'll do that one more time. Here, and then we're going to start tying what's called a half hitch. Okay, so like so, turn it over, and then you're working with this again. Slide it under all the way back to your drums. Pull all the slack through. Pull it up tight, and then we're going to do it one more time. Well, one more time, several more times, all the way down to the front of the bird. So this is where, see how the meat is exposed? There wasn't enough skin in the front of the bird to fully enclose this. You can kind of do this and pay particular attention to hold this here while you roll the whole bird over. And then you're going to find where you tied your knot, come under, and this is essentially tying a half hitch on the underside of the bird all the way back down to your stoppers and the ends of your leg bones. And then I left an intentionally long tail back here at the end so that I can finish this off. Give it a little bit of tension right here at the end. Give it a square knot there, and then cut your excess. Turn it over. It's not as pretty as it could be because I'm rushing, but you can pretty it up, tidy it up, make sure you have enough skin covering, and you're ready to go in the pan. Give it a cool presentation there. That'll look neat because it'll cook that way, and then when you set it on the table, it'll, but there you go.
350.
Yeah, 350 for hour and a half, and you, depending on your stove, most stove, like if you have a gas stove, electric stove, that's a different interpretation. This all works on a 3.75 to a 4.25 pound bird, these temperature and time recipe. So what do you have this set on right now?
Is that 350?
Yeah, 350, so we'll do that for an hour and 20 minutes and see where we are.
Great. Necks and gizzards and
perfect.
everything for this. Okay, I just turned on my Instant Pot. I have the carcass, and then I put in a broth bag that we have with the lungs, hearts, kidneys, necks, and gizzards, all that I just had frozen. So I just threw it in the crock pot, the Instant Pot, with some bay leaf and water, and I'm gonna put it on sealing, and then I have the little soup broth setting, and that pressure cooks it for 4 hours, and then I'll do that for like 3 or 4 rounds and just strain it and freeze it and just keep going until all the fats and minerals are out of it.
Oh yeah! Look at that brown.
So good.
Stuff in the bottom, caramelizing a little bit. What we're gonna do is we'll flip it over and let the breast side now crisp up some and get as brown as, oh, look at that.
Wow.
Look at the presentation.
That looks so good.
So that'll crisp up, and we'll present that on a beautiful cutting board on the center of the table, or whatever we're gonna do. This, if you think about it, if you cut this into 1/2-inch pieces all the way back, there's no bones in here, you've got sandwiches for a week, or dinner for 4, 5, 6, depending on how chubby they are, like me. Oh, that's perfect. Look at that. That's absolutely perfect. The golden crispiness, I'm gonna just feel it. Yes, that's gonna be nice and juicy.
So good.
Fantastic.
That looks so good.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
Man, that's a good one. That's a real good one. Wow. The golden brown, you'll have the flavor blow up in your mouth if you're anywhere on here. It's great. And then, again, our little presentation on the bones in the back really adds to the table. I think that's all we got. Oh, one more.